So more than a week ago we discussed the cover itself, and Darth Vader is going up against IG-88, so basically you know what you're expecting from this comic, and trust me guys, it is quite amazing when you stick around to the ending of the video and watch what exactly IG-88 had up his, well, mechanical sleeve. Let's start with the explanation page, which from all intents and purposes we know that this series still takes place within the War of the Bounty Hunter series. Darth Vader, issue number 13, this one has the tagline Sound of Metal. As I suspected, this had most to do with Darth Vader rather than IG-88. It continues on by saying Darth Vader is restored. After Exegol, Vader begins to comprehend the full scope and might of the Emperor's powers. He must kneel before his master once more, but Darth Vader's son is a threat to his position. Luke Skywalker must die. Now Darth Vader and Ochi travel to Boku the Hutt's lair to pick up Luke's trail, a trail that begins by finding Han Solo. Naturally, for those who follow this channel and read up on the comics, we last saw Darth Vader going to Boku the Hutt's lair and Ochi Bestoon laying down an ultimatum: either cooperate with Vader or die. During those intense moments, Darth Vader recollects what Ben Kenobi told him in A New Hope. "You can't win, Darth. If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you could possibly imagine." So many Jedi tricks, Vader said in his mind, but I see now, old man. You were talking about my son, your hope. Luke yelling out a scream as Ben Kenobi gets killed by Vader. Yes, Palpatine saying that Luke would be a great asset. Even recollecting his duel in Empire Strikes Back with his son, where Luke kind of injured him on his right shoulder before Vader gained the upper hand and actually cut off Luke's hand. "I see everything now," says Vader. "Ah, all your eyes turn from me to him." Vader recollects watching Sly Moore and Mas Amida revel at the chance that Vader will now be punished by Palpatine, when Palpatine indeed did crush Vader to pieces and afterwards send him to Mustafar to survive. Vader will learn his place, as both the pawns of Palpatine reveled at the chance. "But I endured the trials," says Vader, "and now I am more powerful than you can possibly imagine." As the Gamorrean guards approach Vader, he ignites his lightsaber and slices everyone with ease. "You see, Boku," says Ochi of Bestoon, "if you won't deal with Lord Vader deals with you." The cowardly Hutt immediately bowed down to Vader. "Ah, Lord Vader," says Boku, "apologies for not recognizing." "Where is Solo?" says Vader. "I don't know. I already told Ochi Boba Fett lost him. So Jabba must be looking for him. Who's he put on the job?" asks Ochi. "Jabba leads the Hutt Council. You're asking me to betray my own people." But Ochi knows the dealings with the Hutts. "Come on, young brood," says Ochi. "You're supposed to be a gangster. Aren't you ready to stab that slug in the face and take over the council for yourself?" "Ah, well." Now Boku understands fully. If he cooperates with Vader, then one day he might be the leader and the ruler of the Hutts. This was music to Boku's ears. "Jabba put out a bounty," says Boku. "We've been tracking the hunters who bit, most headed for Hett's last known location, but a crew of droids took off in a different direction." "Where?" says Vader. "Oh, I'll tell you, but it's deep in the heart of Hutt space. If you show up in an Imperial shuttle, they will scatter like morts on a hot pan. But if we take my barge..." Ochi laughs. "Sounds like Boku wants to deal after all. What's your will, my lord?" These pages don't show it, but Vader reluctantly agreed, and still Boku was trying to appease to Vader's mercy. Vader simply told him to be silent. "You will be rewarded for your services." "Thank you, Lord Vader," says Boku, as now the Hutt barge is approaching the destination. Boku does not waste time in asking Ochi of Bestoon, can Vader be trusted? Even Ochi can't really answer that. "But you're a Hutt," says Ochi. "You should know how this works. There are no safe havens anywhere. We align ourselves with the biggest monster, and then once we get our chance, not knowing that Vader is completely over-listening to their conversation, they finally arrived at their destination. Once Vader approaches the nearby site, he gets into his Imperial shuttle and starts bombing everything until their systems start getting out of control all of a sudden without an explanation. And just as they were surprised, the Imperials go on to brace for impact as the shuttle crash lands completely, but the droid then explains to Boku that as far as he can tell, a slicer just shut down their engines, which is baffling because Imperial shuttles are the most secure systems he knows of. Now the crime syndicate Crush starts shooting at Ochi of Bestoon and Darth Vader, who are stranded. Ochi even calls them losers for not being able to kill Vader when they had the chance on Mustafar. But with this crime syndicate was also one of the most notorious droid bounty hunters to have ever been presented in Star Wars, and we finally get reintroduced to IG-88, who is firing without mercy upon Ochi of Bestoon and Darth Vader. But even though he was firing as furiously as he could, Vader was withstanding everything he took from IG-88. He started telling Vader that Vader's recently suffered structural compromise. I am envisioning an enjoyable outcome to this encounter. Vader was sure of himself, though, that he could not be defeated by this droid. A statement of opinion, said IG-88. But as a matter of fact, your mechanics were wrecked by your own master, and I remain undamaged in this melee. Vader reiterated, you continue to function only because you have information I require. Lay down your weapons. As Vader started approaching IG-88 slowly, but he is not currently under Vader's employ, said IG-88, you will only access the information I possess by downloading it off my severed head. So be it, said Vader. As now he was firing even more intently at Vader, who was not fazed at all. Once he approached IG-88, he sliced one of his guns away, but at that moment the droid let out a device out of his hand, and as he pressed it, he gained access to Vader's mechanical right hand, and with a gripped lightsaber on it, the droid was now going for Vader's throat. Perhaps you recall my mentioning of an enjoyable outcome, says IG-88, and even Ochi of Bestoon is baffled. IG-88 continues, your master's mechanical parts are more sound than I had been led to expect, Ochi of Bestoon, but now I control them. As everybody behind IG-88 was looking on, Vader was just helpless. He could not control his own mechanical parts, and seemingly IG-88 was controlling everything. That's impossible, says the droid. Vader's armor should be even more impervious to slicing than that Imperial shuttle. For those who do not know what slicing means, in Star Wars, slicing is basically hacking. So IG-88 virtually had hacked into Vader's mechanical parts somehow, as we will learn later on. I propose a revised scenario, Lord Vader, says IG-88, as the lightsaber is getting closer and closer to Vader's throat, in which I will take your head. It seems that Vader was now hopeless. His own arm was hacked by a droid who was now going to kill him. Boku does not waste a moment's chance to betray Vader. He orders the droid to take off with the barge, and ultimately, with Vader dead, they will bombard this whole place. The saber is inches from Vader's head. One last time, he asks the droid, who gave you the code to breach my armor? The terms of my employment prevent me from sharing that information, says IG-88. I can only say that as long as I hold this controller, but without even a warning, that controller gets lifted from IG-88's mechanical hand and straight into Vader's left hand, who controlled it with the Force. Once he grabbed it, he clicked and turned it off, and with seemingly no other option, IG-88 simply took his blaster and gave up, shot himself right on the head, making it seem impossible for his personality to be hacked and his memories to be hacked as well. With IG-88 being unsuccessful, Vader now went on to destroy everybody else, but Boku was still adamant to bombard the entire place, wipe out everybody including Darth Vader. Ordered his droid to bombard the place, bring it down completely to ashes, including killing Darth Vader in the process. He ordered his droid to fire. While the sail barge did not have weapons per se, they had their engines that they could use their flames to completely disintegrate everything down below, and that's what they tried to do with Darth Vader. Everybody around Darth Vader was propelled except for the Sith Lord, who used his lightsaber to reject the blast almost completely. Vader stood his ground. The smoke and ashes were surrounding him. On the side, Ochi Bestoon tried to get the droid gang to tell them where is Han Solo, but they unfortunately escaped hastily. Both Ochi Bestoon and Vader were left without answers for now. The Sith assassin gave up, told Lord Vader to get out of there and go catch up with the gang. But Vader was not one to chase after people. He got answers the way he always did, by immediate recon. He grabbed one of the pieces of IG-88 and went straight for the nearby station. Ochi Bestoon threatened one of the droids inside the station. He told him that the droid who used to have this hand, meaning IG-88, which terminal was he using to sign in? The droid, seemingly baffled, told him that it was right over there. Not wasting any time, Darth Vader simply walked to the terminal and signed in using IG-88's mechanics. Even the computer recognized him as full droid IG-88. Welcome back. This is when Darth Vader got an inside look into the plans and machinations of IG-88. To Ochi Bestoon, those all were dead ends that they were chasing. Nothing about Han Solo, but in a moment's notice, Ochi Bestoon saw something very much familiar, and that was this sign. Both of them recognized it as being the sign of the criminal syndication that used to be called Crimson Dawn. What's baffling is that the next page shows us Boku the Hutt not only landing his sail barge but welcoming Vader back. "I'm so pleased," said Boku the Hutt, "to have been able to play a small role in assisting such a magnificent..." Vader did not waste any time. He aimed his lightsaber straight for Boku's throat. "You planned to betray me from the beginning." Boku was just frozen and asked for mercy from Lord Vader. Vader, though, was more smart than vengeful. He then told Boku the Hutt, "Even though you tried to betray me and kill me, yet here you are, when you could have run away." "What have you learned?" says Darth Vader, with his lightsaber beaming over Boku the Hutt's face. Hopelessness could be seen in the eyes of Boku. He simply told Vader that he learned Vader could not be defeated. Intently, Vader glared inside the eyes and inside the soul of Boku the Hutt, disengaged his lightsaber, and walked past him like he was an ant. Even Ochi was amused and told Boku that that was a good answer. It was finally done. Boku relented without Vader really being aggressive towards him. He simply learned his place by watching Vader operate. Just as Ochi had learned this lesson the hard way, so did Boku the Hutt. Vader was not to be messed with, and if he wanted your service, then you would offer it until death. "Yes," says Vader in his mind, "the only answer." However, things were not so peachy back on Coruscant. We see a shuttle approaching the planet. Once it lands, we see voices talking to what can be deciphered by the Shadow as IG-88, who had simply transferred his conscious to another body. "You failed," say the voices. "You claimed he was structurally compromised," IG-88 said, "but he was vulnerable, and I gave you everything you needed to exploit that vulnerability." Still, Vader was thinking to himself, there are many more who must learn that Vader could not be defeated. As the gate to a private area opens for IG-88, "He remains too strong," says the droid. "I am terminating our agreement." "Fool. No one can defeat him." "Exactly," says the voice again. "Against him, each of us is nothing." Now it is revealed that IG-88 is talking to a cloaked person, but he could grow more powerful than the Emperor and still only kill us one at a time. The final page reveals inside this garden, the person talking to IG-88 was none other than Administrator Slimore, together with these other people inside their seemingly secretive faction. "I am merely Administrator Moore," says Slimore, "just another cipher in the dark, scorned and forgotten. But if all of us stand together, we will be more powerful than they could ever imagine. And this reveals to us that the Umbaran Slimore will be integral in future Darth Vader comic books, at least for issue number 14. This is where the comic ends, and it says that the next chapter to this will be the Umbaran's Court Unleashed. Now, of course, the Cipher in the Dark comment by Umbara leads us to believe that there is this sort of a secret faction or secret organization that Slimore is a part of, outside of Palpatine and the Empire. They could be Sith cultists in the end, they could prove to be loyal to Palpatine, but as of right now, we have no idea if Slimore has completely veered off the Empire, and probably hates the Sith altogether. We know that within the Empire there are many factions like military organizations and now secretive organizations, as we see with more, that hated that the Empire was led by Sith cultists, by users of the Force. Many people saw that the Empire failed because it was not led by someone with a military mind like Tarkin or Thrawn, not being guided by the Force but by military intelligence and by a pragmatist. There is even a secretive intelligence organization in Star Wars Legends called Cipher 9. This could be a reference to that, although we might want to wait and see. Cipher 9 also was known as Night Shrike. It was a codename for an elite intelligence operative during the Sith Empire and the Galactic War, mostly known during the time of KOTOR. However, now it completely falls under Legends material, and this mention might give us a hint that they're slowly becoming canon. So it will be very crazy and interesting to see what happens in issue number 14 when Darth Vader eventually realizes the truth that Slimore had sent IG-88 and gave the droid every bit of detail, every bit of Imperial code in order for IG-88 to be able to hack them. What did you guys think about issue number 13? Talk to me down below in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed, leave a thumbs up down below, subscribe for dailies. Now you can have an awesome day, Star Wars fans. I'll see you in the next video, and may the Force be with you. Until then.